Hi guys, it's Sam here from Train of Thought, helping the world of work to be less stressful. Now before we do anything, just make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Now today we're going to be talking about 3 questions we can ask when we're feeling really stressed at work that hopefully can help us change direction, give us enough space that we can change what we're doing. I think often when we're really stressed, it's really easy to know we're really stressed and we don't always exactly know what to do with that information. And so these are some questions we can ask that hopefully change our perception of the situation. And then that means we can make different choices about what we're going to do. Again, from my own experience, that's one of the hardest things. You're kind of sat there at your desk and you're going, well, I know I'm really stressed, but I've got all this work to do. What am I meant to do? So here are 3 questions to ask yourself, which hopefully can make you look at what you're doing a bit differently and help you to make some slightly different choices. Now, the first question is, can I do this? And that question is based on how I'm feeling right now, the condition I'm in. Can I do this task? Whatever I've got to do, am I in the right frame of mind to do this? Now, what we know about stress is it alters the physiology of our bodies and our minds. So there are certain tasks we're not as good at when we feel really stressed. Now, we are quite good at running away from things or punching bears in the face, but we're not so good at maybe thinking really deeply about something or being really creative. We think we're more creative. We think we're better at thinking deeply because that pressure's on us, but actually that's just a feeling. We're not necessarily coming up with as good answers to the problems we're kind of facing. So that first question is, am I in the right frame of mind? So a really good example would be if you need to write quite a lengthy document. It's going to be quite hard. It's going to be quite thinky. You're going to have to really put some effort into this. If you're feeling really stressed, you're probably feeling the tug of your email inbox on one hand and your WhatsApp messages, and you're probably bit of writing, check that, back to it. Well, actually, at that point, our attention span's kind of quite shattered. It's very hard to think deeply. We're kind of running on adrenaline and cortisol. So what we want to do is go, actually, is there a better time for me to do this? If I park this to this afternoon, I'm going to take an hour for lunch. I'm going to give myself some space to calm down and just rest into it. Maybe I'll go somewhere quiet. Maybe I'll book out a meeting room or go off-site or work from home to write this thing, because I need to be free of the distractions kind of around me that are causing me to feel stressed. Because we have this assumption now that we can do anything in almost any scenario. So we're out shopping and we know we can reply to an email. We're on the train home and we know that we can order something off Amazon. We have this belief that we can do anything in any situation. But really, we're more attuned to doing certain tasks in certain frame of mind and certain conditions. So actually, we can structure our working life and the work we do much more closely to the kind of conditions we can carve out for ourselves. And that starts with the question, can I do this? Should I be doing this now? Or actually, would there be a better time or some better conditions for me to do this in? So that's the first question. The second question is this who I want to be? Now, this is more in the kind of emotional intelligence side of things. When we become stressed, we can often become quite emotional, and that's whatever that means for us. That can be angry, frustrated, we can get ratty with people. And we need to ask ourselves, is that the right frame of mind to do the thing I'm doing? Is this the person I want to be in this scenario? I think a really good example is if you're managing someone and you need to go have a conversation with them, give them some feedback or help them with a task. You want to be feeling patient, you want to be feeling calm, you want to be feeling like you've got their back and you're willing to listen. And if you're just thinking about this email you've got at the back of your mind, or you're feeling very stressed, it's going to be quite hard to do that. So you've got to ask yourself, is this who I want to be? So if the first question is more focused on the work you're doing, the second question is more focused on our interaction with other people. If you've got kids or you've got a partner, you've got parents, you want to be often caring, generous, kind to them. And again, what we know about stress is it makes it much harder to do those things. The parts of the brain that really excel at those bits of our personality are not really as in action. We're running much more on a kind of an old fear response. In which case, we kind of want to make sure we're in the right condition before we engage in that. If you're at work and you need to work on something with other people, you don't want to be frustrated and ratty. You want to be calm. You want to be listening. You want to be able to see from their point of view to bring that empathy. And again, it gives us different choices. If we might have to delay a meeting, or if we know that we find these things quite difficult, we might need to carve out some space ahead of a meeting to allow us to really just go for a walk and calm down. When I worked in advertising, one of the big pressure points was what's called a pitch, which is when we have a potential new client, we'd invite them in for this big meeting, we'd show them all these things that we could make for them, the adverts we could make and the thinking behind it. Enormously stressful, huge amounts of work, often months of work go into these presentations. And it often involves the night before kind of all-nighters, and then the morning before is everyone running around, and this was me, running around, stressed, my heart thumping, kind of skidding into the room to make sure everything's ready. It's very hard to present in the best way possible when you're feeling that kind of momentum and pressure. Actually, could we adjust the deadlines to say, actually, we need to be done the night before, all the work needs to be finished and up in the room. That kind of thing. And I think the other component to it is life is worse. Life is often worse when we feel angry and frustrated. I've just had a couple of days where I've been feeling quite annoyed. My experience of my reality isn't quite as pleasant as when I feel calm. And it's another important part of it. Is like, do I want to feel like this? Am I feeling stressed all the time and I'm feeling overly emotional and irrational? My life will be worse. There's a great parable from Japan about the monk and the samurai. And the samurai goes up to the monk and he says, "Teach me about heaven and hell." And the monk looks the samurai up and down and says, "Why would I bother with you? You're full of pride and anger and you're so violent. Why would I bother wasting philosophy on you?" And it does make the samurai really angry. So he draws his sword and he goes to strike down the monk. And the monk says, "That's hell." And the samurai pauses, stops kind of mid-stroke, thinks about that, puts away his sword and thanks the monk. He thanks him and says, "Thank you so much for that lesson, I understand." And the monk says, "That's heaven. Heaven is a place of calm, serenity, generosity, and hell is frustration and anger. So we don't want to live our lives that way. We'll have a much less rich experience." So that's question 2. Is this who I want to be? And that takes us on to question 3, which is, how long is this going to last? How long do I need to do this for? As we know, our stress response evolved to really be suited to quite infrequent short-term moments of stress. So, a lion in the bush or a bear appears out of us. We get really stressed, the stress is over, we kind of carry on with our business until the next scary thing happens. And what we know about the way we're working is that period of stress is lasting a really long time. It can often feel like weeks, months of really hard work, and that we don't feel we have any pause from this stress. And that prevents us being able to recover. And recovery is really important. Stress takes a huge toll on the body, what's called the allostatic load, which is it prevents the body being able to repair its wear and tear. In which case we need periods of downtime and periods of rest in which to recover. And often in the working world, we'll kind of slam through this really busy week, and it's really common to then go out with your friends on a Friday, go out with your friends on a Saturday, possibly be drinking quite a lot and whatever else. And then on Sunday, I've got Sunday to recover. I've got Sunday and I'll be fine. And then bam, we're right back into Monday. And we can't keep up that kind of pace. We need to make sure we have regular breaks. Something owning my own business and with no one telling me to take holiday, really resonates with me. It's very hard for me to go, "Oh, I'm going to take a week off," but I really need it. This coming Christmas gone, I realised how burnt out I was, despite this being my job, because I was constantly trying to work on the business. And actually you need periods of break, because it takes us time to recover. There was an experiment with rats in a cage, and these rats had never encountered a cat before. And a single cat hair was dropped into the cage, and all the rats froze with terror. They removed the cat hair, and they watched the rats to see how long it would take them to go back to normal, their normal gnawing, pushing, prodding selves. And it took up to 5 days. Now, if that's a single moment of terror for those rats, imagine how long it's going to take to recover from weeks of long-term stress. And that question, how long do I need to do this for, changes the question of us going, actually, I'm going to need space in 3 weeks. I'm going to need some downtime. I'm going to need a break so that I can recover and come back and be our best. And that's a question everyone needs to kind of get involved in. As businesses, how do we ensure that people are their best rather than just trying to eke out something from someone who's quite burnt out? There's not going to be much energy there. So hopefully those 3 questions Can I do this? Is this who I want to be? How long do I need to do this for? Change the point of focus. They change the point of focus away from, am I hard enough for this, or what should I be doing, to, is this right? Is this the best way possible for me to do this? I know what I've got to do, and is there a better way? And I think that's the important change we can make, to have a much closer eye on the way we work and what gives us the best result, without necessarily being obsessed with just being there all the time, being available all the time, always connected, always on emails. It changes the point of focus to a place where we start to have much more control. As individuals, we start to have agency and we start to make choices. And all businesses should allow their employees the ability to make those choices whilst letting them know they value the job they do. Hopefully that's really helpful. Please do subscribe. Please hit like if this was useful. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below, and hopefully see you soon. But until then, take care.